Hi, welcome back to Three Skulls Tavern. I'm here for another Q&A session, short video where I am tackling one or two questions from my backlog going back over a year as I look at restarting my Patreon and restarting a monthly Q&A. So if we bring up Discord very quickly over here on the side, I'm going to be actually tackling two of these in this video because they're, I think I can tackle these fairly quickly, both of them. So one by Attila and one by, oh God, Kobiak, I think is the username. I know who the guy is, his real name, but I think Kobiak is his Discord name. So Attila starts with saying or asking, you stated many times that your favorite career system for WFRP, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, for those of you not in the know, is 3rd edition. Could you tell us why, please? And if you have time, tell us how it is different from 2nd edition or 4th edition. Many thanks. Basically, first edition, 2nd edition, and 4th edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay have basically career exits and career entries. So if you want to, you start off with a career, and to kind of the career kind of prescribes what you can learn within that career in terms of skills, and talents. And some of the games like 4th edition do allow you to learn skills outside of your career by spending a little bit more XP or by finding a teacher or something like that. But really, for you to efficiently travel through your career, you're kind of pigeonholed in a very specific sort of, this is the career and this is where I can go with my career. 4th edition, I should say, does open that up quite a bit, but because it has classes, it kind of keeps things a little bit more kind of tightly focused. But 4th edition really handles things a little bit better than 1st edition and 2nd edition anyway. But the way 3rd edition does it is you have each profession has like tags. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but they're like tags. So a tag might be rural or criminal or religious or magical or something along those lines. And as you kind of level up in this career, as you gain experience in that career, it does also prescribe what you can learn within it. And it's a lot more open, mainly because there's just a lot of options within tweaking your character in that game. And that's actually one of its downfalls as well, is that there's a glut of talents and cards that you can choose for your character, where advancing your character is just becomes analysis paralysis in terms of deciding what you're going to do at each step when you're taking these cards anyway. You can increase your skills as well, which is a little bit quicker, but anytime you're taking on like a talent or something, I can't remember if they're called talents, or you're taking one of these cards. I think the magic talents are also card based. It's just really hard to decide on what you're going to do. I have actually run a campaign of 3rd edition, so I feel I'm pretty confident to talk about this. Basically, if you finish your career and you want to move on, or if you want to move on to another career, you can go into any career you want. And the nice thing I like is that there's a synergy between the tags. So if your current career is a rural career, like you're playing a farmer, for example, and you want to change career over to a shepherd, for example, they're going to share a bunch of tags together. And I don't remember all the tags. I haven't looked at it. I've got all the books on my shelf, but the more tags they share, the cheaper it is, the easier it is for you to jump into other professions and or into new careers. And I just felt like that was a kind of really nice and elegant way of handling it, whereas with like 1st edition or 2nd edition, it's like you have specific career exits. So for example, that means if you're playing a farmer, the career exits might be shepherd, bad example. Let's make a city-based one. I don't know. Rogue, for example. Your career might be rogue, like you're starting off as a rogue. Your career exits might be like burglar, thief, assassin. Things that the designers are thinking, well, if you want to stay kind of being like a roguish character and you want to become a more like advanced level roguish character, here's some fairly standard ones that fit with the trope. And I can't remember off the top of my head in 1st or 2nd edition if you can pick other. I think you can pick other careers, but it's like a steep XP disadvantage. And of course, GMs can ignore that and just kind of allow it anyway without without worrying about it too much. But I always felt really that always felt really proscribed to me. Like, you felt pigeonholed into you can almost like plan your character's advanced journey, like your character build from like zero to hero, like Dungeons and Dragons fourth and fifth edition, before you even start playing the game. And I hate that. It really does not fit WFRP as a in tone at all, because you get these people who start thinking about character builds before they've even started playing the game, and it's such a gritty and game mired in sort of mud and blood and shit that it's like you need to roll with the punches as they come, and like you should not be having opportunities to just do it, like to go from being a farmer to being a witch hunter. Like, if that happens and that's the way the chips fall, then great. But I find those campaigns are much better when you let it organically happen. And that's not to say you can't do the same thing with third edition. You can absolutely look at third edition and start with one career and look at like the tag synergy and plan out a really amazing like journey up to getting to one of the really great advanced careers. You can absolutely do the same thing. It's just a lot easier to cater towards that organic switching of careers because it's a lot more open. Fourth edition also really well addresses this really well, I should say. I just prefer the third edition way of handling it. And again, fourth edition handles it by allowing you fairly easily to swap between careers in the same class. So if you're playing a rogue, the rogue class, you can switch between those rogue careers fairly easily. And the rogue careers also have like these tiers that have like their own like career names within them, and you can move up and down with them, stay within one, move to another one. It's really flexible with how you can attack your kind of character's advancement. But I don't know. I still like third edition the best because it feels the most flexible to me. I should say my favorite method of career systems in any game is the way Free League tends to approach it, which is that you come up with an archetype at the start, or Chaosium does this really well as well. Come up with an archetype at the start, and that is a career. It could be whatever it is, and that's just who your character is at the start of the campaign, and then leave all of the advancement open to whatever it needs to be for the rest of the game. And I know a lot of people are of the opinion that in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the career system, career advancement minigame is what makes WFRP what it is. And I do agree to an extent, but I think you can also have, you can also tackle it in a more minimalist way without having this sort of minigame. But that's just my opinion. And I know a lot of people disagree with it. So, I have been working over many, many, many years over a WFRP hack using the Year Zero engine. It'll probably never come to fruition, but it is on the back burner right now. I have a friend who wants to do art for it, so it could be a really cool thing. And if I do that, it is going to do something where you have an archetype, and your career will basically be the careers that you have. It'll, I mean, the exact mechanics are changing over time. But my thinking was that instead of having skills, you have careers as skills. And if you want to change your career, you just have to narratively find a way to do that. You still retain your old career, your skills that you learn in that career, the skills you learn in that career. But as you get older, you might have, you might become like a master in one career if you stay with one. Or you might be at like apprentice level across a bunch of them, have, be like a jack of all trades, master of none. And rather than, and just leaving it open-ended, so you can literally, as long as there's a narrative justification for it, you can get a new skill, a new career, and you start off with the sort of apprentice level skills in that. So hopefully that answers your question, Attila. You can ask me in a future Q&A if you want to, or ask me on Discord if you want me to expand on that in any more detail. But I think that's good for now. And just for the second question here from Kobiak. What are your thoughts on using normal playing cards for random generators or oracles, or even a resolution system compared to dice pools or step dice regarding the Forbidden Lands solo rules, for instance? So I talked on a podcast recently about this, who had me on talking about the Forbidden Lands solo rule set. And my opinion is that, or my thoughts on this is that the playing cards, I should preface by saying, using playing cards for the Oracle system was a design caveat that Free League gave me when I started working on that commission, because they had, at the time that I was writing, that I had that commission, they had already released Twilight 2000, which was their first game that had solo rules in it, and that had basically playing cards. The Twilight 2000 used playing cards for their random encounters, which I really liked, and they kind of took it to the next level. We have these playing cards already. It'd be kind of cool to use them for the solo generators as well. So Free League, we're very happy with how that was designed, and asked me there were very few caveats around the solo rules. Mainly there was a word count. Sorry, I shouldn't say caveat, but sort of design boundaries is probably a better term. One was around word count, so I couldn't just kind of design this big massive thing. I had to fit within a chapter of the Book of Beasts book. And the other big boundary or caveat was that it had to use the playing cards. So it had to kind of be similar to the Twilight 2000 solo rule set. But one of the nice things I found when using it was that there was this nice separation between using dice for all of the kind of game mechanic-y sort of things. So where you're controlling your character, you're resolving these situations that need skill tests or whatever to resolve, you're using dice there. And anything that involved consulting an oracle, you're using cards for. And the cards, that kind of made a nice separation between feeling like, okay, here's where I'm playing the game, I'm in control of my character, and here's where I'm consulting the oracle. I'm looking for some divination in terms of what's happening in the story. And I really like that, actually, once I started designing around it. I feel that it's a really nice way to design solo games. The cards, you can even do things like shuffle the card deck when you're meant to shuffle the card deck, like the start of a day, then lay the top cards out, like lay 10 cards out, or however many you think you might use before you need to shuffle again, in a line in front of you. As you're playing and you need to consult one of the oracles, just flip the next card on the thing. And it's this nice visceral way of your brain is kind of looking at, you're kind of like, your brain is telling you, this is my set destiny. This, like, the responses to what I'm going to be asking the oracle have been set out in front of me, but I don't know what that answer is going to be until I turn that card over. And you can even leave the cards flipped over to look at as you're playing. So you can even do a bit of like card counting and realize like your luck is being used up. If you've been flipping lots of aces, then okay, I've used up a lot of aces. I've used up 3 of my aces. The likelihood that there's another ace in the remaining cards I have left is really low. There's some really nice like mental tricks you can play with yourself around this. But it's a really nice visceral way of separating the oracle from the game mechanics. And the one thing I will say about it is it's a bit chalk and cheese, to use the term, or Marmite. Some people really like it, some people really hate it, and I guess there are some people who kind of think it's fine, it works. But because there are people who are very vocal about not liking having cards in a dice-based system, for me personally, you never get anyone complaining when you have a solo game that just uses dice with no cards. Everyone's happy with that. So for most of my solo games that I produce, unless there's already a deck of cards being used in the core rules of the game, I won't introduce playing cards. Or if the client wants to see playing cards, I wouldn't normally introduce playing cards for the solo rules, just because it tends to put some people off, and I prefer it to be as accessible as possible to as many people, even if I personally think it makes for a better experience to have cards. If I could do anything, if I wouldn't worry about what other people thought, I wouldn't worry about accessibility, I would create every single one of my oracles using an actual deck of tarot cards, because you have more cards in the deck. The minor arcana work as these sort of like random generators, and the major arcana are really great for cool events happening, and they're very evocative, and there's some really amazing tarot decks out there, and they tie into the whole divination thing. I don't agree with people who are big into the seriously, I don't agree with divination and tarot cards. I don't really believe in that myself. I don't believe in it myself. But it has been used for since the 1800s as a form of divination, and so there's this long history of them being connected to that. So I kind of like that a lot. I love cards. I collect playing cards. I collect tarot decks of cards. So I like bringing them out to play games because I already have them at home. It's no big deal, and it just adds to the whole experience, in my opinion. But yeah, people don't like it, so it's not something I feel is a necessity in every game. But yeah, my preference would be if I just created a game for myself and didn't care about what other accessibility, I would just use tarot decks for all my solo stuff. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Kobiak, you're asking about compared to dice pools or step dice. I think it goes beyond just those two, like Forbidden Lands, Year Zero engine systems, because you could, like any dice system, it's kind of the same thing. It doesn't really matter. My comments still stand. And using dark cards for a resolution system, there are games that do that. I have played them, and I think they work fine. Cards are just, you can use cards as another type of random number generator because there's numbers and suits and stuff on them. You get a little bit more. You can do a little bit more with cards than you can with dice. I personally prefer to roll dice for my role-playing games rather than use. Even though I love cards, I love dice as well. So for me, the perfect balance is, as I said, having cards for the divination and having cards for your internal mechanics. So hopefully it answers your question well, Kodiak. Thank you for asking. And thanks also, Attila, for your question about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 3rd Edition. Yep, I'll be back for another video where I guess I'll be discussing Peter's question, which you can see below here in my next video. So thanks very much, and catch you in the next video.